Good afternoon. One of the most difficult projects in our administration was probably the Emerald Currency Act. There was a village near the town that has been abandoned for quite a while since, people were taking stuff from the village and leaving it deserted. So the Blurry and Steve administration had to do something that would bring the villagers and the citizens of Vladelena together. And what we did is that we made a currency for people to use to like trade, buy, sell, etc. Now, if you look at the village near spawn, there is life inside those walls. We brought villagers comfy homes to live a suitable life in the village with no mobs, no broken houses, and a huge wall around them to protect them. Personally, I am very glad that we made this act because without this act, the village would probably be abandoned and everyone on the server who owned villagers would be living in concentration camps for decades in the SMP. The Bolivarian State Administration doesn't leave anyone out either if it's their citizens or any of the villagers.
Okay.
To be honest, it would really it's very tough to transport a lot of villagers into the town for people to trade, and that is completely why the Emerald Currency Act is the most difficult project in our administration.
Yeah.
The Modernization Act. Before I ran for president, the town looked very old, and it looked like we were living in a town where there was no light. The Bolivarian State Administration built stone paths, lamps, etc. to make the server more livable and to bring people to live at Vladelena. If you look back from when the town looked in the past, then from here in the present, you could see a massive difference. And the Bolivarian State Administration is very grateful to take the town up a notch to suit the citizens' lives up more. We will see where the future takes us. I can't give you a definite answer on that, but what I could say is that the Valerian State Administration will never be forgotten because it is written on the history of the SMP. The Valerian State Administration was grateful to be your president and vice president in the executive branch from top to bottom. We hope that you were at least satisfied at least once in our administration. If you were, I appreciate that. The most important law that I've signed in the Bolivarian State Administration was definitely all the fundamental laws that we have made to build this government. We obviously wanted the government to have law and order, so we obviously didn't want the government to have unlimited power whatsoever. The Bolivarian State Administration really hopes that, all the laws that we have made in our term benefits the future administrations that we will have in the upcoming future. When I first had my first campaign speech, I promised the three key P's: peace, prosperity, and prominence. The Blurry and Steve administration absolutely disliked hatred and destruction in this SMP, and that is why we signed multiple fundamental laws such as the No Law Act or like the Limited Powers Act, and I hope that the future administrations will make more laws that would benefit the government and the civilians of the server under one banner. I really have no say on that. Like I said in that inauguration speech I had a month ago, it's a democracy. Anyone in this SMP could vote whoever they support or liked. What I could say is that whoever's becoming the next presidency, I hope that the next administration will satisfy the people of the server. And I will be watching, definitely. All I can say is that may the best win.
I'm Steve, the Vice President of Vladelena, the Blurry and Steve administration. The most difficult project during the Blurry and Steve administration was the Emerald Currency Act. Due to how much it needed to even get started, we needed to build a bank, so we asked one of our committee members, Marlon, to make more land to build the bank. We needed to bring back the village in spawn to make villagers so people could trade with, earn emerald currency. So it was very difficult for all that since it was a humongous project and it took many actual weeks to even complete. Sadly, a lot of players, grieved during those situations, so it took even longer to finish those projects. And it was very hard to make the switch to the emerald currency, to be exact, because a lot of players were hesitant about the currency, and right now the currency is doing very, very well. My favorite project to work on during the Blurry and Steve administration was the Modernization Act because it showed how the town changed very, very quickly during our administration and how fast we work as administration ourselves. Because the town, no, most new players do not know that the town was basically a farmyard back in the good old days where people used to come here just to kill mobs and leave. But the Blurry and Steve administration changed that and actually brought life to spawn, brought players to spawn, and brought buildings to spawn. And it looks a lot better and a lot more welcoming than it did back in the day when Carl was basically, I guess, the landowner of Spawn during his time here. Currently, I'm running with Yui for vice president once again, and I hope we do win the second election in our town of Vladilena. The most important that law that we signed was the Emerald Currency Act to establish the first world currency in Vladilena and across the town's or government's radius, because people need an actual currency to work with, to sell goods, to buy goods, and that's why it's the most important law that we worked on. Right now, my predictions for the next presidency is me and Yui winning the presidency and taking home the brick house. But things could change. Things could change. Not totally sure what's going to happen because this election is one of the most hardest elections that I see in my entire Minecraft political career.